funding that come into the universities, from tuitions to central bank intervention, one of which you talked about yourself, Chief Kingsley, to allowances and all kinds of funding, NFR funding that comes from TED Fund, to need assessment funding that comes from TED Fund, to subvention that comes from the federal government, and so on and so forth. Now, if we begin to look at all of these things collectively and say, let's hold the university to account, let's have an internal audit in the last decade alone of how these monies have been spent and in what they have been spent on, or on what they have been spent on, I think we will have a lot of questions left unanswered. I'm saying this without fear of contradiction because the figures are alarming. Just to take a bit from what has happened in recent history, the end allowance that ASU continued to fight, that was part of it was paid for, close to about 30 billion. You go around universities today, you will find that there is still lingering crisis between senior academic staffs and junior academic staffs, and of course non-academic staff. Some of whom have not gotten paid yet. So these are some of the things that ASU needs to also critically look at within the university in itself. Now, we are at a time in our evolution as humans where all over the world, universities are not solely dependent on government fundings. Yale University, for example, last year, raked in an IGR collectively from alumni funding to research institute funding and so on and so forth of about a bit short than $9 billion US. That's a university, that's an institution of higher learning as well. So I think these are opportunities that are also available for the university to explore. But again, it boils down to the other question of accountability, of responsiveness on the part of the administrators. So I think that needs to be looked at, trashed out, and dealt with first and foremost before we even come to the current.
Oh dear, Dr. Mukhtar Imam, Dean of Faculty of Management, Communications and Social Studies, Social Sciences, speaking to us via Zoom. I do hope we will re-establish contact with him, and when we do that, we'll return to him to conclude his thoughts on that. But let's again go back to Comrade Isa Aremu. If his connection is okay, all right, we'll get back to Dr. Philip Hayab. As soon as we are able to reconnect with our Zoom, we will get back to those guests. So, Dr. Hayab, you listened to the Imam Mukhtar and all that he said, and I was trying to actually get figures because I know that the federal government have made some releases, and the last one I got here, if I'm correct, was in 2021, and that was about more than 50 billion naira released to ASU. But the current issue is on agreement on the renegotiated agreement, and of course the issue with the payment model, which ASU is insisting that the federal government must implement. And the federal government has said, look, with the payment model, we are still on it, and of course the BRICS committee, which is still being debated and all that. So is this protest the best way to resolve the matter on ground?
No, the answer would be no, definitely. The point I was raising doesn't in any way support that strike should continue. The protest by the planned protest. I think the planned protest by the NSC is just a way of maybe drive home a point to say, okay, ASU is not alone on this. This is where the matter is. Like the comrade was talking about, our institute, this Institute for Peace, where we're supposed to have peace, our non-academic staff too are making some demands. Some of these protests, unfortunately, particularly in the dispensation where we are now, which is a political dispensation, could be misinterpreted. And if you ask me, they are not the best ways to resolving the crisis that is the lingering strike. What I will expect is that maybe the pressure should be able to make government to listen more, and then maybe move more to give more concessions so that we can have this students go back to school. I think about last week I had one of the ministers was saying ASU was not part of NLC, which is not the case. These are issues that the government should be clear about. Definitely NLC is the let's say general mother body for all the other labor unions, and definitely seeing that this strike has lingered for 5 months without a solution. I think RC is just NLC is just coming to say that we are supporting the strike, or maybe the content of the strike. Now, if this demand can push the government to listen more and then come to a reasonable conclusion, this matter between ASU and the federal government, I think for me that would be a good thing. But I don't expect that we have a total shutdown. If we have a total shutdown, there's already shutdowns at the universities. People who have shops at these universities no longer have anything to maybe their businesses have been closed. Certain students had, maybe most of the students, if not all, paid their, some of them who live off campus paid money for accommodation. They cannot get these monies back. So a lot of losses has already been incurred. We cannot continue to increase the losses that our citizens have incurred as a result of this prolonged strike.
Dr. Philip, while we're trying to get the other guests back via Zoom, Mukhtar popped up a moment ago, but I think his Zoom connection to us is still freezing. Tell us something about the decision making in ASU, because I mean, the ASU has genuine causes that it has pursued over the years, and as you guys have mentioned this morning, as we have also known over the years, the nature of the demands by ASU, that nature has been changing. Because as one issue is resolved, you come on to another kind of issue, which some persons would argue it's good. I mean, we talk funding of tertiary institutions, for instance. It was on account of ASU that the Babangida administration brought in the 2% tax on company profits, and on and on. We have seen those incremental improvements. But when you speak to a number of professors in the universities and even university managers, they are dead against the approaches by ASU. And as Comrade Aremu pointed out, it now appears that same approach, same method, and expecting a different result. But unfortunately, what we are getting is the same result. So when you talk about decision making, it appears that from the views, I've not done an extensive research so that somebody would not say, well, there's a sampling size and so on and so forth. But I tell you, when you speak to professors and have conversations with them, it's as if, the unionists are on their own, and so they are blackmailing everybody to get on with it, because there are a number of distinguished academics who are quite concerned about the reputational harm that these incessant industrial strikes are bringing on the Nigerian university system. What is your thought on this?
Yes, first, I think it's a matter of suspicion. That is suspicion, or maybe it's sort of a suspicion. Now, as an academic, you spend so many years to go to the university, study, and then earn a master's or a PhD and get into work as a university lecturer. Now, the pay package, I think, and working conditions of Nigerian academics, to some extent, I think is the push, unfortunately. Because when they compare themselves with their counterparts in other parts of the world, there's seemingly a huge gap. And then, I mean, from my experience, then you see maybe someone who hardly has a certificate overnight gets an elective post, either as a councillor or a chairman, driving in a big car that with all your years spent studying, you might not be able to attain. I think that is where the root of the matter comes in. But I would say, and then the workings of ASU, definitely decisions are taken from the local chapters, and then it gets to NEC, and then NEC will now maybe come back to them with a decision. Now, from what I know, like you rightly said about TED Fund, yes, TED Fund, since TED Fund stepped in, So many things have happened. But what I can tell you is that if you go to any of the libraries, in Nigerian university libraries, you'll be shocked from what you knew at the time that you were a student. Now, so these are some of the issues that have not actually been done properly. And like the last speaker was talking about, forcing the university management to be accountable, I think is a very great point that I found. And ASU should refocus on this matter instead of just pointing accusing finger at the federal government or the state government. I think ASU should be able to look inward, to look at how these vice chancellors who are supposed to be academics have overnight become stupendously rich. Now, where did they get the money? So what we are accusing the politicians sometimes we end up becoming when we get the opportunity. So I think the working of ASU just looking at federal government's role, federal government's law, it is high time that they started to look at their own universities and the structures and where the leakages that are happening. Like talked about alumni fees. I've been paying my alumni fees as far as I can remember. If you go to take your certificate or take anything from the university, either a transcript, you pay money. Now, where is this money being channeled to? Some of these monies could be used to renovate the classes. They could be used to renovate buildings and even stock maybe the libraries with books. So I think it is not going to be fair to just look at what the federal government was not doing well or the government was not doing enough, but we should look at what the universities themselves are doing with the resources that trickle into their purses. Have they been accountable or not? If they are not accountable, ASU should be able to force the management of their universities to rise up to the challenge.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hayab. Let's, before we take a short break, I think we need to bring in Imam Mukhtar, if we have him on Zoom. Imam Mukhtar, while you conclude your thoughts earlier on, I'd like you to also speak on the current issue, which centers around the MDAs of the conciliators being pressured out of the meeting room during the Professor Nini Briggs committee meeting, and of course the issue of the IPPIS and the UTAS. The professors are insisting that government should use the UTAS payment model. Well, government on its part, wants that model to be certified and ensure that it is foolproof. In the meantime, the IPPIS has been provided as an option. On the surface, these two issues, seem to be something easy to resolve. So why is it leading us to a protest?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you very much. You're absolutely correct. First and foremost, I think sending the individuals representing these various MDs out of the meeting was quite unprofessional. That's my take. I wouldn't understand the entire circumstances surrounding what happened in that room. I wasn't there. But I think these are stakeholders as well, in as much as, or as far as our educational system in this country is concerned. These are people who, in one way or another, have a stake in anything that has to do with education in the country. So I think they will have the beat to contribute. The one thing that we fail to, and we consistently do, which has led us to erroneously progress in the wrong direction, is the fact that we always assume that the solution is in one individual or one set of group or one ministry and whatnot. It is not done that way. And as a matter of fact, this is one thing that has permeated society so much. And that's the reason why you find that our universities are hell-bent on government funding alone when there is the alternative of the private-public partnership. PPPs are going on all around the world, and it is something that can be explored. University of Abuja starts from Airport Junction up till Bagwalada. What will the university use all that land for? Bring in people, give them that land, set up communities, and go into PPPs and see how you realize a lot of funds that will aid in sustaining the universities. But that's by the way. The other issue of youth as an IPPIS, I think you see, like you rightly mentioned, it is commonsensical. This is something that requires all of the individuals in government today have to go through institutions of learning or institutions of higher learning. And the people who have set up the IPPIS platform are people who are professionals in their own rights. And they are saying that this is something that should benefit the state. We should have a single treasury account. We should have a way of coordinating payments to everybody who is in the payroll of the federal government and whatnot. And ASU is saying we have an alternative. All good and fine. Bring in specialists from both sides, technocrats from both sides to sit down and iron out these issues. This is something about artificial intelligence. It's not even a human intelligence issue where you say it is complex and it cannot be resolved. Because if you want to unresolve issues, you put two human beings, particularly social scientists, in a room. Then you will see how you can unresolve issues. But this is something that is straightforward. It's about algorithms, it's about computers and whatnot. It can be brought to bear. You just sit, the technocrats on both parts will sit down, iron out the issues, and you will find a way out of it. Because, again, like I said, if it's about blames going around, there's enough to go around. On the part of government, we see the lackadaisical attitude. On the part of ASU and academic teachers, we see what is going on. One professor like Kingsley was trying to mention earlier. We see one professor teaching in 4, 5, 6 universities. No offense to my professors and my colleagues in the academia, but this is the reality of what is going on. And then these people are trying to cover their track, and you find that, or their track, and you find that input becomes low. This is something that we also need to reflect on. That's why I talked about deep reflections earlier. In the words of Paulo Ferrari in his book, The Pedagogue of the Oppressed, he said, while trying to fight the oppressors, you must also take caution so that you do not become an oppressor yourself. This is about our children. This is about whether your children, your cousins, your nephews, and whatnot. So I think there are certain grounds that can be, compromised on the part of both the federal government and on ASU's side to be able to find a resolution speedily. And the reality of the whole situation is, I think ASU is not being tactful. Because to achieve results, you must be tactful in action and strategic in thinking. ASU cannot consistently go on strike to evoke public sympathy and at the same time countering those things. Because the timing is very crucial as well. The time ASU constantly goes on strike is counterproductive to what it is trying to achieve. ASU went on strike when COVID was at its height, when universities all around the world were trying to seek for solutions to the problem of COVID. And our institutions were closed. They were moribund, and this shouldn't be the case. Now ASU is going on strike when we know clearly well that whatever comes out of the mouth of this government today, as we have seen in the past, is going to be for political expediency. We have an election next year. So definitely anything you hear from the mouth of a government today, a former minister or a current minister once said this, that the 2008-2009 agreement was reached based on political expediency. And this is the same timing that we're looking at. You cannot go on strike at this time and expect any meaningful results. And about protest, I think it is unwise, it is unsafe, it is unruly. I think it will be one of the biggest mistakes that we will be making at a time where the country is this fragile, with all of the security lapses that we're currently faced with in the country. You will find that there are numerous anomic groups that are waiting patiently for this protest to start. They will infiltrate this group, and only God knows where this is going to lead us. We must be very careful when taking certain decisions, like Kingsley rightly said earlier. Decision making and timing of these decisions are also very crucial as well, because when it happens, God forbid, the country will not explode, it will implode, and they will have nowhere to hide, God forbid. But we need to take drastic measures.
All right, Dr. Mukhtar Imam, thank you very much. Comrade Issa Remo, still with us also via Zoom from Ilori. Thanks a lot. Dr. Philip Hayab here in the Abuja studios. Thanks. In the meantime, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. The results to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
Have your PVC ready. Conduct yourselves orderly. Join the queue. Cast your vote secretly. Thumbprint correctly. Do not waste your vote. Do not sell your vote. Secure your future. If you sell your vote, you have sold good roads, electricity, water, education, good healthcare, etc. Be part of nation building. Cast your vote for honest candidates. Shun electoral violence. You could lose your life for nothing, for nothing, for nothing. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
It's scary, isn't it? Putting yourself out there, ignoring the voices telling you you can't. Will you step aside, or will you go for it? After all, what's the worst that could happen? So, keep trying. Don't stop. Believe in yourself and go for it. Our data available in many variants to nourish you every step of the way.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve their sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Of course, we know that the issues in the lingering ASU strike, by the time you begin to unpack them, you begin to also find a parallel equivalent in the demands of some of the other unions, SANU, and NOAT. For instance, Claire, we're talking about IPPIS and UTAS. The non-academic staff, they have also configured their own payment platforms, and they're saying that that's the way to go. So how many of these issues is government going to be able to resolve? We have seen a number of these issues come up. But there's one point that I would like Comrade Aremu to speak to. Because again, from the point of law and even the point of just pure governance, we have had very little from state governments and state governors on the current ASU strike. In the meantime, a number of state universities are also closed because their academic staff say they are in solidarity with the National ASU. And when you look at the slate of issues that the National ASU is pursuing with the federal government, the resolution of those issues will not directly affect state-owned universities. I mean, are the state universities also quarreling over IPPIS or UTAS, for instance? And is the federal government also owing them end allowance? So you then ask yourself, are the state university lecturers also employees by indirection of the federal government? Why do we have this whole issue of a shutdown of public universities, that's federal and state, on the basis of sympathy? Even though earlier, Comrade Aremu, you did say that sympathy is the lifeblood of trade unionism. But how can we go like this? I mean, so that state governors, state governments are themselves virtually helpless now. Some state universities are running, by the way, but we have the national one nearby us here is on part of the strike, and the staff are justified it. Why is this going on? If I don't have an issue with you, then why should you lay down your tools?
Well, thank you so much, Chrisley. I think my other colleagues, they've said it all, and listening to Mukhtar, Dr. Mukhtar himself is an academician. I mean, expressing his frustration about the same method leading to the same result on the part of ASU. I think that says it all, because I mean, our institute, we have the mandate to promote knowledge about labor market issues, how to resolve disputes, handle grievances between employers, in this case government, and workers, in this case the academic staff union, as well as the other education and research sector unions who are on strike. But the only thing that will help us out are the facts. And as you said, you also refer to the legal framework. But the fact that we are discussing, I mean, we are agonizing about the strike, about protests, I mean, we had a series of protests, so this one only increases the noise level of protests. The fact that that's what we are discussing, rather than the real issues, that tells you the limit of endless one method, the strike method, the protest method, to resolve problems that require more sustained negotiation and high level of compromises. And it's not because I'm a DG now. I've always been expressing that, even though I was a labor movement, that we need to have multiple strategies to pursue our goal. I mean, I was for a long time the General Secretary of National Union of Textile and Garment Workers of Nigeria. In fact, I took over from Comrade Adams Shomone. He was the our General Secretary, a fantastic unionist. But you find out that in that sector, I mean, this private sector, when textile was highly labor intensive, the nature of work is that conflicts were inevitable. And when our workers really look for their rights, they assert this right in a different way. But we've been able to put up a collective bargaining machinery in that sector in a way that throughout the period Comrade Adams was there, including when I was there, and I'm very sure they sustained the legacy. Today, we've signed close to 45 national agreements almost every year in the past 35 years without single shutdown of the entire industry as a whole. And of course, Phillips, is good for you to also appreciate this, that there are two kinds of disputes. I think we keep on saying so. Kingsley, you remember, we talk of dispute of right, dispute of interest. The textile industry, let me use that as an example, have been facing perennial problem of smuggling, lack of electricity, those are sort of factors, lack of funding that grounded the industry. But we use different approach to pursue that. because dispute of rights, as long as your salaries are being paid as a when due, those are your fundamental rights. Now, dispute of interest, you want to make changes to improve on the sector. In the case of textile, more stop smuggling, encourage government patronage. You need a different approach. You need advocacy. You need to pressurize the stakeholders. And in a democracy, the same method you used in 1988, you can't use it in a democratic setting, because here the space is open. You can lobby, you can convince, even funding is about public appropriation, so that people get used to know your approach. So what I'm saying here is that, if you ask me, this again, we can debate it, and I'm open to that discussion, is that, if you have problem with your payment system, IPPS or UTAS, can you legitimately go on an endless strike on that one? Because that's dispute of interest. Now, your problem with your pay that is not regular, if they don't pay you as a when due, it's a different approach that you need to have. And as Kingsley put it, there's UTAS applied to states, universities, now, even if you have to do solidarity, which I'm for it, that's our slogan, solidarity forever, it has to be based on things that you can really push appropriately. So all what I'm saying, Kingsley, is that I think if the method becomes the issue, there's a crisis rather than the issues. And that means that increasingly we need to look at a different approach that we can resolve this problem. And I think, Mukhtar, you raised that point, issue of funding, and I think that's the bottom line, the funding. How do we increase our funding? Again, it's a national challenge. I just listened to Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, who pointed out that Nigeria has revenue crisis. Now, how do you grow the revenue? Do we increase more taxes? In the conditional crisis, I'm very sure none of us would like to have that, including ASU. Do you increase fees in the university? I'm very sure that's not the way to go, as the case may be, because the children of the poor, may be disadvantaged. Now, how do you get the revenue to drive it? Again, do you even retrench workers? Again, because it's all about policy choices, as the case may be. And I think one thing you must give to this government is that, in spite of the economic crisis, COVID crisis, recession 1, 2, 3, this government increased pay without necessarily downsizing or right sizing and asking workers to go. Again, we have to make the choices. All those are the issues that will come to the table for proper discussions. Now, again, we can debate. So let me wrap up on this note, and I think these ideas have to flow from the floor of negotiation and discussion. I know how much is being spent on fuel subsidy. We have unveiled the NNPC, new NNPC. You know very well that money that goes into subsidy. I don't know, Kingsley, whether you are getting fuel there at the appropriate price. Really do so. Again, that money I thought should have gone for proper funding, including research institutes like me. So what I'm trying to take is that the challenges in our hand call for cooperation rather than confrontation.
Comrade Isaremo, thank you very much. I'm sure by the time we play back the DVD or recording of today's conversation, you will know that there is a tome of ideas that you three guests have brought up with regard to what to do. But something that is a bit striking, Claire, this is part of what Isaremo has mentioned. And I think we had a conversation sometime in the past that's a former trade unionist who then became a member of the House of Reps. His name escapes me now. He did say something about the training that unionists get versus the training that is available, for instance, to officers in the Federal Ministry of Labor, and that there appears to be a gap in the training of those negotiators in the Federal Ministry of Labor. But I will use that to say, for instance, for Isaremo, because if you look at the distinction that is made, those things are available in the industrial law. We know industrial law is taught in a number of universities. Industrial relations is also taught in a number of universities. But how much labor training do ASU officials get so that when you can have different approaches to different issues. Clear.
That's a million naira question, Kingsley. Well, don't forget also that their business is in the classroom. But my question now will be to Imam Mukhtar, or Mukhtar Imam. There seemed to be some kind of love lost between the conciliators, the ASU unions, and of course the body of the NLC at the moment, which is the basis for the call for protest and the prolonged strike. So now going forward, because what we are looking for here is how we can resolve the impasse without having to spark off any protest or strike. So might it be possible to expand, the stakeholdership to include those who are non-partisan in this whole dialogue?
Well, that will also be very crucial as well. Like I said earlier, part of the reason why we're faced with a chunk of our problems is because we think the solution is domiciled in one individual or one group of persons, which is basically not the case. Getting these other sectors involved is very crucial as well. But the one thing that must also be put into consideration here, given cognizance, is the fact that, you see, in every crisis situation, there is always, as enunciated by the onion model or the onion theory. The theory speaks just like an onion, and it says every conflict situation has several layers, and as you peel off one layer, you find that there's another layer. And also that you must take into consideration the fact that there is the position, the interest, and the needs of the players in that conflict situation, and all of that must be taken into cognizance if that conflict must be resolved. Getting all of these players into the brackets to be able to widen the web and have a broader conversation that will bring about more concrete and sustained resolution is very crucial. But the truth of the matter is, I'm trying to get this now to juxtapose this with what Kingsley mentioned earlier. That the academia, of course, as you know, is the ground from which all of these ideals and ideas that my other comrade Issa removed. By the way, he's still a comrade. I noticed him trying to suppress that comradeship while he was talking earlier and be diplomatic. The spirit of comradeship is still there. It is not questioned anymore, sir. So basically, this is a platform where these individuals are groomed from. It means that they know, yet they sit or step on the knowledge and refuse to act when it comes to negotiating for interests. That is where I believe that some grounds have to be shifted. You cannot expect that whatever you bring to the table is exactly what you're going to get off the table. It doesn't work. Diplomatic bargaining must be brought on board. Alternative dispute resolution mechanisms must be brought on board. And what do these two things have in common? They tell you that you must be willing to shift grounds. You must be willing to ensure that you allow certain concession, some of your demands, so that you can allow for the center to hold. And this is something that we must all take into consideration. So whether we're expanding the web to include NLC, TUC, and whatnot, that factor is very critical. As a matter of fact, it should serve as a lifeline of the conversation. And there is also the need for the people in government circle to do well. A few days ago, or in the last few days, we have been hearing the confrontation between the Ministry of Labour and Ministry of Education. It is not brief. It is not ideal. We shouldn't be hearing things like this. The Minister of Education is talking about how it is the Ministry of Labour that is causing all of. I don't want to go into all of the politicking, but we've been hearing all of this back and forth, and that shouldn't be the case. Let's have uniformity in the interest of children, because in the end, it is about them. It is about their future.
All right, Dr. Mukhtar Imam, thank you very much. Back to the studios, Dr. Philip Ayab, very briefly, your closing thoughts.
Yes, I will call on ASU and the federal government and all the parties involved in this negotiation, including the NLC, to close their ranks, to ensure that our schools are reopened, and then we do not have to lose anyone in any form of protest, because like most of the speakers have actually noted, In the times that we are, with the kind of insecurity that we have in our hands, we cannot afford to have people in the street and allow others to take advantage, only for us to come to say, had we known.
All right, Dr. Philip Hayab, Dr. Mukhtar Imam, and Comrade Issa Aremu, gentlemen, we deeply appreciate your contribution to our discussion this morning. Okay, so that does it for our conversation segment. Let's close by going over to our sports segment.
Nigerian forward Victor Osimhen has responded to the rumours linking him with a transfer to the Premier League. The Nigerian has also revealed that he is inspired by Tottenham's Harry Kane, who he looks up to as a role model, alongside Chelsea and Ivory Coast legend Didier Drogba. The 23-year-old has reportedly caught the eye of a number of top clubs, including Spurs and Manchester United, having scored 18 goals in 32 matches across all competitions for Napoli in the 2021-2022 season. Osimhen has no intention of moving in the current transfer window. However, he says he considers it a privilege to ply his trade for one of the top clubs in Italy. In England, pitch invaders at Premier League and English Football League matches will receive an automatic club ban under new measures to tackle fan behaviour. Concerns were raised about safety at grounds after a number of pitch invasions at the end of last season. Individuals who carry or use pyrotechnics or smoke bombs will also be banned, and identified offenders will be reported to the police. The Football Association will also implement tougher sanctions for clubs. It is an offence for fans to enter the pitch without lawful authority or lawful excuse under the Football Offences Act 1991, but offenders have not always been prosecuted.
All right, once again, we all appreciate Oluwatobiloba Amusan for making Nigeria proud, as well as S.A. Bruman, of course, the 4x100 meters Nigerian team. And it's on this note, we thank you for watching Good Morning Nigeria again today. Join us tomorrow. I am Claire Adilabu Abdu Razak.
And I'm Kingsley Osabala. Say, do have a great day.
What limits you? Nothing. Who defines you? No one. Where can you go? Everywhere. With unlimited super-fast internet access, free Intel to Intel calls, and crystal clear quality conversations, you can do and be whatever you want to be. Intel. Live more.
Entertainment, then NTA. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile device to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International. Your window through the world.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Hello
there, and thanks for joining us on another edition of Sports Reel, coming to you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I am Badi Adeleye, and we're reaching you from the main bowl of the Moshood Abiola National Stadium here in Abuja, Mansa. On the reel today, we'll be talking about the world record-breaking feat of Nigeria's Oluwatobiloba Amusan, and of course, that was at the World Championships in the United States of America. That is still generating a lot of buzz everywhere. Come on, what a time to be a Nigerian. We'll also be talking about the recently concluded Women's Africa Cup of Nations 2022, where the Super Falcons of Nigeria finished 4th. Do not forget that South Africa, the new champions, followed by Morocco, the host, who finished 2nd, while Zambia beat Nigeria to 3rd. And of course, we'll be talking about these and many more on the show today. What I can tell you is that for the next 25 minutes or thereabout, it's going to be a sporting treat for you. So, go nowhere. Alright, let's get down to business. This week couldn't have started on a better note after Nigeria's Oluwatobiloba Amusan did us proud in the 100 meters at the World Athletics Championships in the United States of America after twice breaking the world record in the 100 meters women's hurdles. She did that in the semi-finals and also in the final, although the record for the final will not stand due to the influence of wind. But come on, we've got ourselves a new world champion, the first Nigerian to do so, and of course she has a new world record. That is beautiful to see, and we're still celebrating Oluwatobiloba Amusan. My colleague Kenne Magbodike is standing by to tell us more about the world record breaking feat of Oluwatobiloba Amusan.
Toby Amusan, the African champion, the Commonwealth champion, clearly in the form of her life.
Sunday morning was momentous for Team Nigeria as the curtain fell on the 2022 World Athletics Championships in Oregon, Eugene, United States of America.
Amazon is in green for Matt Quinn, second from the left. The Olympic champion's been left a little bit at the start by Armstrong. Amazon now beginning to come through. So too is Anderson. Toby Amazon, records in one night. And she makes history by becoming Nigeria's first world champion. What a way to do it. What a stage on which to discover sporting immortality.
25-year-old Toby Amusan took the women's 100 meters hurdles gold in 12.06 seconds, making history as the first Nigerian to win a world title and an unprecedented world record in one day. Amusan first ran a blistering 12.12 seconds to shatter the world record of 12.20 seconds set by Kendra Harrison of the US in the semi-finals.
I'm just thankful for my coach. She's been my sole strength, and the people I have, my support system, they've been very supportive, and trusting myself just made everything easier.
Amusan's 12.06 seconds in the final would, however, not be counted as it was deemed to be well over the legal plus 2.0 wind assist allowed in athletics.
Does the record of 12.06 stand? Unfortunately, no, it won't. The wind speed as at the time of the race at the stadium stood at 2.5 meters per second, which is above legal limits. And so it will not stand, but it is still the fastest time run. And it's amazing for us to witness it and see that it was done by Nigeria.
The record-breaking feat also enriched Amusan's purse with $100,000 by the organizers.
That was so emotional. Come on, we have a new world record holder, the world champion. Like I said earlier, what a time to be a Nigerian. And of course, President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated Oluwatobiloba Amusan for her feat at the just concluded World Athletics Championship. President Buhari says she has brought joy and excitement to Nigerians, and of course, she has given many hope. President Buhari also congratulated Esebume, who finished second in the long jump event of the championships. Still talking about the record-breaking feat of Tobi Amusan, so many people in the Nigerian sports fraternity have been reacting to what this lady has done, and that is being led by the sports minister, Sunday Dare.
She's been consistent, she's been committed. From fourth, she blasted her way in first position. That is the power and the talent and the depth of the talent we have in our country. And Esebume, congratulations.
Nigeria has never achieved this before. This is the first time it's happening. This is a big thing for Nigeria. I said big kudos to them. Congratulations, Toby. Congratulations, Ese. Well, we all put heads together to see what we can do. There's yet another competition coming up. The Commonwealth is right around the corner, and they all go in there. I know they are going to do Nigeria proud again.
Can you imagine 2 world records by the same human being on the same night? That was actually very phenomenal.
And this is going to, no doubt, inspire young athletes in Nigeria that if they remain focused, if they work hard, they will always get the result at the end of the day. And also shows that if we invest more in our athletes, we will definitely see the results at the end of the day.
Everyone everywhere celebrating Oluwatobiloba Amusan, but let's go further by showing you some exciting things about this young lady. Years ago, she put something on the social media that she was going to become a world champion, and that's what she has just done. And before going for a race too, that was, on Sunday, she put it there that I'm the incoming world champion, incoming world record holder. That's what they say, that you can always declare things and put it into existence, and that's what has really happened to her. She said she was going to become a world champion, and she has done just that. And so many people are very much happy for this young lady. We've decided to get you an aggregation of some exciting things about Oluwatobiloba Amusan on social media. Check it out. Quick word for some parents who really don't support the idea of their kids participating in anything sports. Tobi Amusan got herself a whooping sum of $100,000 for setting a new world record. Just convert that to naira, then you know that sports is a big industry. So once again, congratulations to Amuson. And I can tell you that congratulations are very much in order for Nigeria's Esebume, who did well in the long jump event at the World Championships. She came second in the women's long jump event, and of course we're celebrating her after what she also did at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Esebume is a shining light when it comes to long jump for Nigeria. We will continue to celebrate this young lady. And you're still watching Sports Reel on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Let's go for a quick break now. When we return, we'll be reviewing WAFCON 2022. Don't go nowhere.
NTA Sports 24 brings you all sports, all time and all day. Tune in to watch NTA Sports 24 on Star Times Channel 270, Star Sat on Channel 434, Green TV on Channel 731. NTA Sports 24, where sports thrive.
Welcome back. The Super Falcons of Nigeria failed to, claim third at the just concluded WAFCON 2022 after losing to Zambia in the third place match. The Copper Queens beat the Super Falcons 1-0 in the third place match. And in case you didn't see that, let's quickly show you how the Super Falcons failed in their bid to claim bronze.
Into the box when she delivered the ball here, it came off, and Katongo, she certainly needed the bullets and blasted it onto the side post, the body of Chemaka Wandozie, and gifting Zambia the first goal. Katongo's first goal in the competition, and the celebration has been started off here. Ball whipped in, came off, pine, and surprise. Goalkeeper just couldn't get it. Plumtree with an effort here, but palmed away there by his own Nali. Didn't end there. There were moments where the Nigerians believed the second half they were going to get chances. They caught or produced some quality balls in the box with Gift Monday. Gifted with opportunity here, and she couldn't quite get the target right. And it ended in favor of the Zambians for the very first time winning a bronze.
The Super Falcons will wait for another tournament to fight for a record 10th title. But for now, we're going to hold on to the fact that they've qualified for the FIFA Women's World Cup. And let's see how they're going to perform at the tournament. We're wishing them all the best. And of course, for more on the campaign of Nigeria's Super Falcons at the 2022 Women's Africa Cup of Nations, let's join Osereme Inigbenebo for today's MTN Super Falcons show.
Oh, fantastic header! Has added a third goal. And that is it.
Hello there and welcome to the Super Falcons show powered by MTN. My name is Osereme Inegbenebo. Now, as you know, this show is dedicated to the Super Falcons to highlight and showcase our lovely ladies and what they do with the football team. Now, this episode, we have a lot of things to celebrate, from Rashida Tajibade winning the Golden Boot at the just concluded Women's Africa Cup of Nations to our very own Assistant Oshuala winning a record 5th title as the CAF Women's Player of the Year. But just before we offload all of this on today's episode, we take a quick break, and when we come back, it will be showtime.
Information passed down for generation. All the generations are falling, their regions recorded.
You are still locked on to the Super Falcons show. Now, today's episode is specially dedicated to our very own Asisat Oshoala, who clinched the CAF Women's Player of the Year award for a record 5th time, surpassing ex-Nigerian international Perpetua Okwocha. Now, this is not an easy feat, and just in case you missed Asisat receiving her award, here is a very, very short clip from the other night. Let's check it out.
And I'm loving your style. Congratulations, congratulations. African Player of the Year in the women's category. Asisat Oshoala, can you please give us a little speech? Well done.
Congratulations, Super Z, on clinching that award. Now, remember to follow the conversation online at MTNNG on Instagram and Twitter. Facebook and YouTube is at MTN Nigeria. And of course, our very own personal handle, Super Falcons Show. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what this award means to Asisat, who she's dedicating this award to, and so much more. In this Tell It All interview, we speak to Asisat, and she tells us what this award means to her, who she's dedicating it to, and a message for young girls who are looking to follow a path in football. Let's check out this interview.
I was great. This was the first time that I actually feel differently winning the African Player of the Year, because I didn't believe I was gonna win, because it was kind of like tough in the last three. So it was a case of we can go to any of the nominees. So I think I got lucky this time. I mean, personally, I'm not a person who set goals, but it gets to a point where you feel like, okay, you have an opportunity to get something, and you just try to encourage yourself to work harder, and there's a possibility that you can actually create your own record, you know. So, I mean, I got the fourth one in 2019, so I feel like I have more than enough time to create and to create my own records, you know. So I was just working, but at the end of it, I got lucky again. I mean, I think one thing about me is I love to play football, and I feel like football is more about entertainment, and I know that my job is to entertain people, and that's what I go out to do. And I know what the excitement in football is scoring goals, showing skills, and all of that. So I just want to score goals, because that's what I know how to do best. I want to score goals. I want to make the fans happy. I want to make people come to the stadium to enjoy the game, you know. So I had a top season. I got injured 2 months, another 10 weeks, and another one again, you know. But when I'm playing, I don't put all this in my head. I keep them behind me, and I'm like, okay, it's a new beginning again, and I just keep going. to be honest, I feel like this tournament we really deserve